Okay, shall we bring attention to the things? The beautiful fuzzy mic, it's very beautiful, and this hair is just so dry. It's too dry. My hair is sticking everywhere. Normal people probably have hairspray. I have been thinking about AI, human connection, and my roots and background that would make you expect that I wouldn't really care about this, but it turns out I really do. I really, really do. Hello, my name is Darz. Recently named myself or labeled myself as a recovering stoic Finlander. I'm obviously still Finlander. Okay, I always forget what generation. There's my parents, there's my grandparents. My great-grandparents came over to the US from Finland. So that means I'm third generation, right? Third generation American, third generation Finlander in the USA. But the generations grew up in a very tight-knit community, beautiful, lovely, wonderful way to grow up. But it's definitely very interesting. And I'm sure some of you can relate that have grown up maybe in other cultures that have, a group of immigrants tends to come over to a country and sort of settle in the same area, right? Because you call your friends back home or send a letter, as the case may have been back in the day, and be like, hey, I found work, you guys, you can work here, This is still the case. I've met people recently that have moved to certain places because they know somebody where they moved to, right? It's not only from country to country, but within the United States and within countries and whatnot. Anyways, that's beside the point. I am here on YouTube uploading a video a day. Join me, hit subscribe, hit that like. It really supports my channel. And yes, my ancestors were very group-oriented, you have to stick to the tribe and everyone protects each other, right? Wonderful, great, awesome. But I think from stoic communities, stoic countries, we all have this tendency to stay within ourselves. We don't as much express, share emotions, feelings. We don't really speak from the heart. That's something that I'm realizing that I'm horrible at. Every time I want to speak from my heart with somebody, I'm just like fish out of water. So two differing sides of the coin spectrum, whatever it is. We are very tribal, yet we are very keep your business to yourself, and we don't need to talk about things. We can talk about the weather or talk about the coffee or talk about projects that we're, building a house or whatever. I think finally in this time we're growing out of that. I've definitely seen that within my family, but it's been very interesting realizing how much I really want and value and need just connection with other people. And the growth of AI, if you didn't know, you can ask, there's different models or different versions or types of AI. And so some AI can do video, some AI can do text, some AI can do graphics, different models, right? Well, there's actually AI that can create a podcast. You can type in a prompt, you can ask it to do research on a certain subject, you can, whatever, obviously you can make the prompt as long or short as you want, and you can adjust and modify, but there's this AI that can create a podcast from words, from a prompt. You don't have to write out the whole podcast. It's not like voice to text, text to voice. It is literally create a podcast about this subject, and it will spit out a whole freaking podcast. Listening to an example AI podcast is very interesting. It's I'm sure it's going to get better over time, but right now, at least as far as I've heard, you can tell it's not normal. You can kind of tell there's not human feeling and emotion and experience behind it. It's very strange. I think you should look it up and listen to something. Maybe I can link something down below to give an example. And you can even interact with the podcast itself and recreate so that it has your voice interacting with the AI itself. So it's a conversation between a human and AI voice in podcast form. But there's just something weird about it. I was listening to a Q&A on YouTube, and I just started to think about, what is it that draws us to people? What is it that draws humans together and makes us want to experience connection? And why are we so interested in Q&As? Maybe some people aren't, but I'm definitely very interested in Q&A videos. I just really enjoy them. I really like learning about other people's experience and life story and perspective. And that just doesn't happen when you're listening to something that's AI. I don't have any sort of answer or beautiful little bow to tie this all together. I've just been trying to wrap my head around what it is that humans will always prefer about humans over made up AI conversations that don't have legitimate experiences behind them. Like, what's the difference if I sit here and tell you some dream that I had? You know, it's something that didn't actually happen. I dreamed it, but it didn't actually happen in real life, in this normal waking life, right? It was made up. Yes, of course we enjoy novels and fiction stories and whatnot, but it's still somehow more interesting. What is, like, does anyone have answers here? I'm trying to understand this. I think partially because I'm like, what's stopping AI from like completely taking over everything? What is the little thread that's going to hold us together? And what, like, I write a lot of marketing material for my job, and there's something about putting a human or a connection into marketing material that helps people that see your marketing material connect with it, right? And AI can help me write that stuff, but somehow AI doesn't have a voice. I mean, it has a generated voice. It doesn't have a human soul behind it. I have also listened to recently a podcast between two couples. It's just like two couples sharing their stories and experiences and relating to each other. And it's like, even if that podcast was completely the same, like word for word the same podcast, but it was AI voices talking back and forth, how does it make us, what I don't get it. I'm trying to understand. I'm just literally trying to wrap my head around this. If you have answers, please comment. If you have experienced this or heard the AI voices or like tried to connect with something that, and it's just like AI and you're like, what's going on here? Obviously, the beginning of AI was way worse than it is now. It was way more obvious and way more mechanical and voiceless and robotic. But even now with what it has become, like, it's so much better, but it's still something weird. Okay, that's enough for my, okay. I think I've tried to be someone who just doesn't really care. Like, if you go in a big group and people don't really connect with you, which obviously there's ways to learn to connect better with people and attract people to you and whatnot, but there's always something that I'm just like so interested in, connecting with people. And I think growing up the way I did and being extremely shy, extremely shy, I always thought I was so introverted and like didn't really care to connect with people, but I really do. I love human connection. It's just wonderful and great, and like, let's connect. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.